Are we live? Hello, hello. All right, guys. So I shouldn't even be talking right now. By all accounts, I should have just disappeared, changed my name, moved to Bali, started selling matcha on TikTok, and never looked back. But I am still here, and there is a reason. Because if you've ever been publicly humiliated, if you've ever made a mistake so loud that it echoes in a Google search, if you've ever made a mistake that wasn't even your fault or like that something that got exposed that you didn't even do, I want you to hear this. You're not done. This isn't just my story. This is a lifeline for anyone who's been canceled, betrayed, falsely accused, or royally screwed. I was a talent manager who helped build the biggest stars on TikTok, starting with Charli D'Amelio, Addison Ray, and 80 plus other creators before agencies even knew what TikTok was. And then a journalist at the New York Times pulled the trigger. One article, no warning, my entire business gone overnight. So, this episode, I'm finally telling it all. I'll tell you about the betrayals, the lies, the lawsuit, the rock bottom moments, including the night I had to explain to everyone that I might have to change my name. But I'm also sharing how I came back and not just with revenge, but with receipts, resilience, and a message for you. Because whether you were wrongly dragged or you were at a Coldplay concert, you still get to write the next chapter. Your worst moment doesn't get to define you unless you let it. So here it is. I'm going to open it up to you guys if you're in the room. Otherwise, I have a lot of questions that people have asked me since the lawsuit was settled. And this is the real story. So hopefully, I can give you guys some real tools that I wish I had when I lost everything and tried to uncancel myself the scrappy way. So here we go. Let me just fix this really quick. I don't know if I can see my comments is the only thing. Lost my screen with StreamYard on it. Let's see if it's still working. Seem to always have technical difficulties on here. Oh, here we go. No, I found it. Oh, what's up? Okay, we got people in court. How's it going? So I'm trying this new beta thing. It's where it shows the comments on the stage. Oh, there it is. Oh, that's kind of cool. I didn't know if that was working or not. Okay. Very cool. Well, thanks for you guys that are joining. I know a lot of people go live on Sunday nights. So, all right. All right, let's keep it going. So basically, I kept my mouth shut for years because I was in the middle of a lawsuit. I tried to play it classy, play it the legal way, the way the lawyers advise you to not say anything. While Taylor Lorenz took shots at me, people twisted the narrative, and many people built careers off my silence. But I'm done letting anybody tell the story their way. Today, I'm just going to speak freely once and for all. I might never speak about Taylor Lorenz ever again. There is another podcast coming out on Digital Social Hour, and I was really nervous. So I don't know if I got everything out that I wanted to say. But today, I'm going to talk about my beef with Taylor Lorenz. I'm going to talk about what it's really like to sue the New York Times, the one of the most prominent news organizations in the world, and what actually happened with the lawsuit, why I filed it, why I walked away, and what it cost me, what I learned, not for pity, not because I need any clout, but mainly because I know someone is listening to this who feels like their name is ruined, like they'll never get their life back. And I want to be the voice in your ear that says, you can come back from this. So today's the day. I've got the timeline, receipts, facts. What are the things? I don't know. I have a uh, store on Amazon. You can go to littlemissjacob.com if you like the sweatshirts that I wear on the DUI Guys podcast or show. And yeah, so basically, I want to walk you guys through really what happened. If you don't know who I am, I'm Ari Jacob, and I basically discovered TikTokers before TikTok was really a thing. So in 2019, I think it was 2019, it might have been 2018, but Musically switched from Musically to TikTok. And Musically was this app where a lot of people did dances. And sorry, one sec. Let me pull this. There we go. Sorry. Okay, so mm, okay, my bad. I always have technical difficulties, but I don't like to record these like privately because then I'll never do it. If I say I'm going to do a podcast and then I actually come on here, you guys can hold me to account, I guess. Um, but yeah, oops, here we go. Got my sweatshirt and listening. Thank you for sharing your experience. Oh, you're welcome. Very cool. All right. So a lot of people ask me, okay, you discovered Charlie D'Amelio, Addison Ray before anyone knew who they were. How did you like spot them before this wave hit? So everyone thought TikTok was just cringy dances for 12-year-olds until I saw the next Disney Channel when I saw how many views these people were getting. I'm talking these kids were in their sweatshirts in their living rooms during in the middle of the pandemic. I mean, actually no. I found them before the pandemic happened, but it just exploded when the pandemic happened. But before, I had actually represented Canelo Alvarez, the boxer, and I worked with a bunch of Bachelor people. And it was going okay, but that was extremely saturated. The Bachelor social media stars, and then there was like kind of two groups. There was the lifestyle influencers at the time, and then there was Logan Paul, Amanda Cerny, King Batch. If you don't know who those people are, they were really big on YouTube and on Vine. But the managers in that space were like trying to get anybody that they could. I didn't feel like most of the managers that were representing these people had a lot of experience with social media or the digital space. I had been doing social media since the MySpace days. So I basically was like, okay, I'm going to do this. Like I know what I'm doing and I can actually connect these people to brands because I had worked for a digital agency for a long time. I worked with MasterCard, I worked with Brita. And so I could be a bridge to connect the influencers to brand deals. I had just read Zero to One by Peter Thiel. And the line that really stuck with me was competition is for losers. If you don't have a monopoly, then you're basically losing. So find something where you can be the best and the first. And so Instagram and YouTube were very crowded already. TikTok completely untouched. There was no agents, no representatives, just raw talent and insane reach. I used to call them my unicorns because I felt like I went into, I don't know, a garden and found a bunch of ponies. And then all of a sudden they sprouted wings and horns and turned into rainbow colors. And then everybody wanted a unicorn. But I kind of saw what was brewing before it happened. And I felt like I could mentor these people. A lot of them felt lost, like they didn't know what to do, how to make this a career. And I saw these teens in hoodies hitting 10 million views in their bedrooms. And I thought, wait till the brands see this, they're going to go insane. So I started DMing creators directly and I built relationships. I basically saw this whole hype house thing exploding, which was kind of like a collective The way I tell my millennial or boomer friends about it, it's kind of like Saturday Night Live, where you have a bunch of different people and they build one collective and they can do little skits. And that's what they were doing on TikTok. And so I ran the creator houses like a mini agency slash summer camp, over 80 creators. Not all of them were in the houses, but there was, you know, couple beds in each room. They had some of the brands were renting them Lamborghinis. And we were all figuring it out as they blew up. But I had a lot more experience than I think many of the managers at the time and talent agents in Hollywood, because most of those people had never worked with social media talent. So I was friends with Gary Vee. I had known him since 2009. I think I grabbed coffee with him in San Diego when his first book came out. And he was my hero, but a lot of people didn't know him back when I met him. So I kind of got an inside track on the things that Gary Vee taught, which were basically the foundation for what I was trying to develop with these social media stars. And through Gary Vee's team, I met Charli D'Amelio, and she was extremely grounded, relatable, the all American girl. And I ended up starting to work with her and her sister Dixie. And then through them, and when Charli D'Amelio started to blow up, like she couldn't even go to high school because she was becoming a full blown celebrity. And Instagram had this ice skating party, and it was right around Christmas time. And I went, and that's when I met Addison Rae. And I couldn't help but notice how bubbly and just her vibe was very, like, what's the word? It was just contagious. You know, she just had a really good vibe. So all of them, I mean, all of them were kind of like bright eyed, bushy tailed. They weren't from California and they were coming here to basically chase their dreams. So I felt like they were my little sisters, but I really wanted to support them in this new career. And I was really excited because I felt like, oh my gosh, like nobody even knows like that this is a thing, that TikTok is a thing. And so I landed Charli D'Amelio and another client, Brittany Broski, a Super Bowl commercial. I landed them a Super Bowl commercial, um, using my brand contacts, which was with Gary Vee's team. Gary even said in a video, which I happened to be recording because we were so excited about it with the creator. She knew I was recording for the record. Um, that he said he was basically telling this creator, hey, we got you a spot on the Super Bowl commercial, but I want you to know, like, you're amazing and everything, but we're doing this because here's a chance where I can pay back a friend who I adore. And we're really doing this for Ari. And so the fact that he said that was like so amazing. I thought that the creators, you know, would be appreciative of that and like excited. Um, but then, you know, the world caught up and Charli became TikTok's most followed person, I'm pretty sure. Addison signed a 4 picture Netflix deal. The D'Amelios got a Hulu show. They weren't influencing. These were not influencers anymore. They were mainstream celebrities, full blown. Pretty sure Charli and her sister made $70 million since 2019 when I worked with them. So once I found my unicorns, everyone else wanted them too. And so this is where we get into what happened when Taylor Lorenz wrote the story about me in the New York Times that honestly I was not expecting at all. So picture me like totally thinking I finally made it. I worked my butt off. I had always been an entrepreneur. I didn't get any financial support from an investor. I bootstrapped everything and I didn't have like a boyfriend, a partner, a husband, like nobody was funding this thing. I had a lot of people that believed in me and I'm grateful for that, but I really didn't have, you know, it was just like that moment when you were working on something for so many years and just like barely getting by, you know. I don't know if at that point I really ever had to sleep in my car, but there were some, you know, times where my bank account was like negative and like I didn't know how I was going to eat, But it's kind of like fake it till you make it. Like you cannot put that out there for people to realize that that's what's really going on because it makes you look bad, right? You have to act the part. And I mean, not at the time when I was working with the influencers by then. I had a good foundation um but at that point I was in my 30s. So when I was 21 and I started my business, like it wasn't it wasn't smooth sailing. So I'm at this point, we're getting emails from all different types of big Fortune 500 companies. I'm so excited. I'm thinking I finally made it. And we're having meetings with like Universal Music Group, with Instagram, with TikTok there. And, I felt like I was getting the respect that I had earned. So all of a sudden, Taylor emails my lawyer. Actually, she emails me and then I loop in my lawyer. So Taylor emails me and I loop in my lawyer. And less than 24 hours before she was planning to publish, she had a full litany of questions with all these allegations about me. And me and my attorney stayed up, pulled an all-nighter responding with full receipts. And to be honest with you, I wasn't even panicking when this hit piece was about to come out because I believe that the New York Times wouldn't run with falsehoods. I thought I haven't done anything wrong. This will blow over. I thought the New York Times was a prominent, respectable institution that wouldn't run with lies. Well, plus I was like, what do they have against me? And I haven't done anything wrong, right? But let's just remember that when somebody comes at you in the media, you can't just divulge all your business documents because you might have specific agreements with certain people where you have an NDA. And so you can't say anything about business dealings. For example, if a business paid late and the New York Times is accusing you of paying the influencers late, like what they did to me, I can't show them the invoices to XYZ Fortune 500 company because the Fortune 500 company could come back and sue me. So for breach of my NDA. So morning comes and my phone completely blows up. People are like, "Are you okay? It could be worse. You can always change your name." Everything changed overnight. 1 month before, I had 85 creators signed, over $1 million in brand deals waiting. Next thing, clients vanish, brands pull out, investors ghost me. My name became radioactive. So that was not fun. I will tell you that. I mean, I've never seen the movie, but I don't know if I have, but it was like the Scarlet Letter. I felt like I got branded. I couldn't rub off this like thing that made it seem like I took advantage of young people. And it wasn't a story that was hard to believe because I don't know if y'all remember, but there was these stories about Lou Pearlman who screwed over, I think it was like NSYNC or uh, these boy band groups. And I mean, it's like the story old as time, right? The manager sees these young people that are um, excelling at their careers, and then all of a sudden, you know, all of a sudden, the big bad wolf comes in and screws everybody over. And I was the big bad wolf in that situation, as far as the New York Times had painted me. And I had always been a person who brought people together. I thought hard work and good intentions were enough. But later, I discovered that there was kind of a targeted attack against me. You see, Taylor Lorenz was represented by the same talent agency that signed my clients after the article had dropped, which means it was a huge conflict of interest. And Taylor Lorenz didn't let her readers know in the New York Times that she had written a glowing article about United Talent Agency in the New York Times and didn't think it was, necessary to disclose that she was represented by them. So that conflict of interest was never disclosed. And I didn't find out about it till much later after the New York Times article came out, after I basically just thought it was all my fault and I must have just really, I don't know, like missed something. The New York Times gave them the New York Times gave United Talent Agency, my competitors, the kill shot and they took it. So this is where we get into people saying, a lot of people just say, just sue them. Just sue the New York Times, when you're defamed. And I'm going to tell you guys why it doesn't work that way. I don't know why hang on, let me fix my screen is like a little, hang on. Is that better? I feel like it just like looked like the thing was dirty, but maybe not. All right, who's in here? Hey. TC Brown says, always say, never mind the weather, just let the breeze blow by. Hey, girl, hey. Thanks for joining me, you guys. I wanted to like finally make some like clips and talk about this. That I know some of you guys don't know, but like when I was Ugh. Oops. So this happened in like 2020 and ugh, sorry, my chair. I need like a new chair. All right. But from Michigan. Yeah, so this happened in 2020 and then I was like, what am I going to do? And I couldn't really talk about it because I just, that's what they tell you. They say don't say anything publicly because you're going to make it worse or then you can't sue and la la la. So it wasn't until 2024, I want to say, or maybe in 2025, I can't remember, that the judge finally said, hey, the lawsuit can move forward. So I had to wait all that time. So this is why I want to talk about, why can't you just sue them when someone defames you or when a media publication comes after you? Or even just like when somebody says something mean about you, okay? So I'm going to tell you why. Here is a checklist to see if you even have a defamation case. So I'm not an attorney, but I learned a lot after I sued the New York Times and Taylor Lorenz. First, they have to have said a false statement of fact, not opinion. So when somebody says she's being manipulative, that's opinion. She committed fraud, that needs to be factually, provably false. Okay. Was it communicated to others? Like, was it publicly shared? Because private insults or DMs to you don't count, even if it's not true. So they have to have said it to another person. Did it cause provable damage? AKA, you lost contracts, investors ghosted you. You need a paper trail connecting one specific line in the article to one specific deal gone bad. That is nearly impossible, as I found out. Are you a public figure? Well, thanks to the New York Times versus Sullivan, which was a case that happened in 1964, if you're even a little bit public, the standard changes. Then you have to prove actual malice. You have to prove that they knew it was false or that they didn't care. So basically, you're trying to read a journalist's mind, and that is very difficult. Okay. Most media defamation lawsuits get thrown out before trial. Mine actually survived a motion to dismiss. That alone was basically a miracle. So yeah, just sue them. That's like saying, just become a brain surgeon. It's not that hard. It actually is really hard. And this was all about justice for me. But why did I fight? How did I even fight back? Because I had no money, right? So a lot of people ask me, you had zero budget, but you still got a top legal team to take on the New York Times. How did that happen? Well, I'll tell you, I was completely lost. I was in a really dark place when the article came out. There was a couple people that wanted to be represented by me still, but I wasn't in a mental capacity to even keep my business going. And when I say like I was in a dark place, think about the darkest place you could be in. Because this was my baby. My business was my everything because I gave up everything. I didn't have a family, I didn't have any kids. I gave up everything to focus on my business. I'm ADD. The only way it would have worked for me to run this business the way I wanted to successfully was that I had to focus on it 100%. And so when it was lost, I pretty much lost my identity. And that's something that I think people need to get maybe out of this story is like not to put your whole identity into what you do for a living because it can go away. I mean, a lot of people lost their livelihoods during the pandemic. So, but this just felt a little more sinister, a lot more sinister because somebody targeted me and it was completely unfair. So I was lost, everything collapsed, but the New York Times and Taylor Lorenz didn't expect one thing. At that point, I had absolutely nothing to lose. I had the truth on my side, and I had a 1 year deadline to get something filed for defamation. Even if everyone told me it was impossible to find a lawyer that I could afford, I gave myself 1 year. I just thought to myself, regardless of the good advice and well-meaning advice that I got from friends that were like, just move on from this. You know, you could change your name, you could change your career, you could go get a job. And I thought to myself, if I don't at least try to fight back, I will always regret it because I'll always wonder, well, what if I had just tried? If I try and fail at standing up for myself, well, at least I tried, right? And I can like sleep at night. So one night in a clubhouse room, Taylor had smeared Mark Andreessen. He is a tech billionaire, invests in so many Silicon Valley companies, and he basically invented the internet browser. Someone opened a room to push back on Taylor Lorenz, who was also actively going after many other women in tech. And I jumped in that room. Mark Andreessen happened to be in there. And I said, Taylor didn't just do this to Mark Andreessen, she did it to me. And I lost absolutely everything. And I think it hit differently because Mark Andreessen is a very wealthy guy. She had tweeted that Andreessen had said retarded in a clubhouse room. She was basically like an angry hall monitor tattletaling on him, except for he never said that. And it was a group of people discussing Wall Street bets who were calling themselves retarded. So that's a whole other story. But the point is, she lied about a billionaire who is a man and white. And so maybe a lot of people didn't have any sympathy for Mark Andreessen. In fact, Taylor Lorenz was saying that she was being bullied by these tech billionaires. And I think so. I think when I raised my hand and people looked at me and they're like, well, here is a Mexican woman. Like, what is Taylor Lorenz's excuse going to be this time? Because she couldn't throw out the, big bully billionaire white man is attacking me. It was, 5 foot nothing Mexican immigrant entrepreneur destroyed because of Lorenz. And I don't like the whole I'm a female entrepreneur thing. That's not why I'm saying this. I'm just saying that was the optics. It was like finally someone could face Taylor Lorenz and she would have this, easy excuse basically. And so that hit differently. And people might shrug for a billionaire, but for a Latina founder, maybe even, because somehow this became political. Of course, it always does. But, at the time, we're thinking, well, maybe other liberal leaning news organizations will have some compassion for a Latina founder. Maybe that would resonate, you know? Well, regardless of anything, someone in the clubhouse room DM'd me and they're like, I know someone you should talk to. So they knew a defamation attorney. And that's when I met Joe Sibley. So Joe Sibley saved my life. If you need a good attorney, he is in Austin, Texas, and he actually represented Giuliani on that big defamation case with Dominion. That was a really difficult case, and I think I'm gonna be talking to Joe this week about the Candace Owens lawsuit, so if you want, tune into that. But this is when I basically showed all the receipts, the contracts, the agency conflict, the brand deals lost, and Joe took the case on contingency, which means he didn't take any upfront fees. That's insane. I don't want you to go call Joe Sibley and ask him to work on contingency for you, though, because this was basically a miracle. And I don't think that everybody that gets defamed should necessarily sue. I think that there's a bunch of different ways, and I'm going to hopefully talk to you about them so that you don't feel like there's no hope if something happens to you. But that was basically a miracle when I got an attorney. And I didn't get an attorney, remember, I only had a year. I got an attorney, I want to say like 8 months into this whole ordeal. So I only had a few months left to even file the lawsuit. But that should be a lesson because when I went to my first attorneys, and bless them, like they were amazing, but I went to the lawyer's office and they're like, you cannot sue the New York Times. You don't have the money. And the New York Times hasn't lost a defamation suit since the 1960s. But I don't know. It was a miracle. I said, hold my beer, and I made it happen. So that should be a lesson in like, speak up in every room that you can. People don't like injustice. And when you're speaking truth with receipts, you will find allies. And if there's somebody that's bullying you, they're probably bullying somebody else. So it's a good idea to go find out who else they're bullying. Sort of this whole an enemy of an enemy is my friend type of thing. You get what I mean? So, um, when I had no media support, what did I do to take back my name? Well, I tried traditional crisis PR at first, spent the last bit of my money that I had in the bank, and it barely moved the needle. But when you're in these times of crisis, you're just like, I don't know what to do. Like, this is my whole life. At that point, I thought this is my whole life, and everybody knows about this, and nobody's going to work with me again. And, you know, most most PR agencies, like, they can't really do much to go against the New York Times. I basically had scraps left. So I had to bootstrap my PR to tell people my side of the story. I collected screenshots, contracts, timelines, all the receipts I could find. And then I found Ashley Rinsberg. So shout out to Ashley Rinsberg. He wrote an amazing book called The Gray Lady Winked. It's all about all the terrible things that the New York Times has gotten away with over the years. And I linked up with Aria Tufanian. He also had been smeared and his business destroyed in a New York Times article by Taylor Lorenz. We'd all been targeted by the Taylor Lorenz smear machine. And when we connected, it wasn't just enemy of my enemy, it was friends with some true stories and receipts that we could put together. I mean, Ashley hadn't been smeared by Taylor Lorenz, but he knew how the New York Times operated. And so we were all sharing notes together. And I mean, we traded notes, and then I was able to speak up. When I filed the lawsuit, I knew that there was a chance that maybe Fox News would like pay attention to my story, but I kind of wanted a mainstream media or like liberal leaning or at least like independent group to cover it because I was still trying to be in the entertainment business, and the entertainment business in Hollywood at the time especially was not super open to Fox News, okay? So I didn't want to pin myself as like a right wing person when I really at that time had no political affiliation. I was just working my ass off to like build this company and do right by these people that I was representing. And, but, things have changed because I found out a lot of, well, let's just put it this way. A lot of people from one side of the aisle came to help me, and I'll never forget that. And I'll always be grateful. Now, a lot of people who are liberal also came, but that was more in my personal circle. That wasn't, liberal leaning media or whatever. In fact, a lot of people wouldn't touch it. Anna Kasparian um, didn't talk about it. Even Megyn Kelly, because I had sued United Talent Agency, and United Talent Agency actually hired Brian Friedman, who was just Justin Baldoni's lawyer, to represent UTA. So maybe uh, Megyn Kelly asked Brian Friedman, "Hey, what's up with this lawsuit?" And he was like, "Hey, can you just do me a favor and not talk about it?" I understand. But listen, there was all these people that had favors and I had none, none with the media left to get help. But Ashley Rinsberg helped me get my story in the Wrap. And when I sued the New York Times, they picked up the story, and finally, at least that lawsuit had all the receipts and my story was out there to defend myself. And by that point, I think Taylor Lorenz had a lot of enemies. Even one of my colleagues, an executive from one of the big Fortune 500 companies, she was like, "Oh, you cannot go after everyone. I know you're mad, but you don't have the money or the bandwidth to go after everyone. So you got to pick a horse." And she's like, "I think you need to go after Taylor Lorenz because looks unhinged." Apparently she had gone through her tweets from like the week before, and she was just tweeting like unhinged things all day long. So, but I mean, that's kind of Taylor Lorenz's brand, is to tweet unhinged things. But anyway, so what happened? So we get that one article. So I'm like, okay, one person wrote an article about the lawsuit. And then it's like you have to wait till something else happens in the lawsuit, or like nobody else is gonna, is talking about about your story. So this is how the media works. You basically have to take it in like little chunks of opportunity to speak up. So I felt like I finally had some momentum, but once the lawsuit was out, then there was like nothing else. That one story by the Wrap, and then nothing else. Maybe actually the New York Post. So shout out to the New York Post. But I wanted more. I wanted more people to know about Taylor and what she had done. So I would buy $100 super chats. I mean, I didn't have that much money, but I think I maybe it was like $500 that I had like attributed to this. But I would buy these super chats on LawTube live streams, and I would say, "This happened to me too." Um, and I just kind of like made friends that way, because most YouTubers will shout you out if you put $100 super chat. Now, I think nowadays, like big streamers like Emily D. Baker and stuff, like if you send them $100, they're not gonna like stop their stream to talk about your story. But and I don't even know if she did or who did at the time, but there's definitely people that I had been like putting super chats and they're like, "Oh, we know this girl." So is that a pay to play situation? Well, yeah, kind of. But I would jump into rooms where people were talking about Taylor Lorenz too, because Taylor Lorenz was going after Libs of TikTok. She was going after Mark Andreessen. I think Tucker Carlson made fun of her on his show because she was saying, like, on International Women's Day, you should be basically feeling sorry for me because I am a journalist that often gets bullied in the media. And it's like, come on, lady. Taylor Lorenz is the definition of a cry bully. She cries crocodile tears when she is the biggest bully. Thank you, TC Brown, by the way. Taylor Lorenz is the biggest bully. But what I learned was that basically truth is your only power in a rigged system. So you have to network with truth tellers. You have to speak factually, make friends on Twitter, on YouTube, speak factually, not emotionally, but I definitely had a couple breakdowns, I think, where people were like, "You might wanna delete that story," because I was going through a roller coaster of emotions, but I was trying to be strong, and, thankfully, the internet started to amplify my story, and I would speak up whenever I would see that somebody was talking about something terrible that Taylor Lorenz did, because she didn't just do things to me, so it was kind of thankfully, I mean, not thankfully, but in a way, it was like, I'm glad I wasn't the only one because I had a mission that I think was worth fighting. It wasn't just like, "Oh, poor me, like this happened to me. I'm the victim." I was like, "No, we need to speak up so this doesn't keep happening because if it's happening to me, it's going to happen to more people and it's wrong." So, a lot of people say I got or ask me like, "You got Taylor suspended." I'm sorry. "You got Taylor Lorenz suspended from Twitter. What happened there?" Okay, so this is a story about what happened when I got Taylor Lorenz suspended from Twitter. Elon Musk had just taken over Twitter and started suspending journalists for doxing. He was a gangster and kicked people off because they were publishing his jet details of where his jet was at all times and his son was riding in there and it became like a safety issue. And so when I saw that Taylor posted about this and that, you know, or sorry, that Taylor was also like part of this group of journalists that were crying because they were doxing people, I rode that wave in. So I would ride these Twitter waves. Whenever I saw Taylor's name trending, I would ride the wave and I'd be like, "Me too, this happened to me too." And so one of the things Taylor did was that she published my home address in the New York Times. Okay. I had rented a TikTok house and she linked the link, the Zillow link to the address of the house in the story. So basically, anybody could come to our house. This is where like celebrity TikTokers lived. So not only did she put me in harm's way, but she put the influencers in harm's way. And there was no consequences for that. I mean, everybody knew that Taylor Lorenz doxed libs of TikTok, but nobody had talked about the fact that she had doxed me. So, thank you, Chibi. It looks like you were able to overcome and get back up. Congrats. Thank you. Yes, and I'm that's why I'm doing this stream because I feel like we're living in a time where everyone at some point or another, whether it's within their personal lives or publicly in a newspaper, everybody's going to get canceled. And so this is how I bootstrap my way out of it by writing these Twitter waves and things like that. And you might say like, there's no way like Elon Musk is going to respond to me, but I shot my shot. Okay. And he did respond. So all of a sudden, Elon I tweeted into Elon's mentions or I can't remember, like, I basically posted, like, "Taylor Lorenz stalked me. Why is she still allowed on Twitter?" Basically. I mean, let me find the I'm gonna find the actual tweet so I can tell you guys what I said. Because I remember when, Elon, like, responded. I think I was live. I was doing a video with my friend Farron. I wonder if she has it. That would be so fun to go find it. But I was like, "Oh my god, Elon just tweeted at me." So, let's see. Doxed. How do we spell doxed? Okay, this is what I said. I'll put it up on the screen. Um, this was like a okay, wait. Is it this one? Yeah. Okay, well, basically, how do I share this? Share screen. Here we go. I make this big. Okay, so I said Taylor Lorenz doxed and defamed me in the New York Times in 2020. She linked my home address at the time. How'd she get the address? She told us it was it was not for publication, but for fact-checking purposes only. Really curious what her explanation will be for doxing and lying. So here's the message where she's talking to my team. She goes, "Hi, it's Taylor Lorenz with the New York Times. Can someone please send me the address for the kids next door house, the drip crib, the girls in the valley house? Not for publication. Thanks." "Hi, Taylor. Not a prob. Will do," says my team. "Hi, Taylor." My team. "Hi, Taylor. If you're not going to publish the addresses, why would you like them?" See, my team was actually smart. They knew she was not a person to be trusted. Taylor says, "Because we need to fact check. Every other collab house has provided them. Not sure why this is even an issue, but feel free to call me. To be honest, it's raising red flags with my editor." This is for a good article she was writing. She was basically saying, like, before she wrote the hit piece, she wrote a negative piece. I'm sorry, before she wrote a hit piece, she wrote a positive piece about my houses. And so you see what she did there? She was trying to, Taylor Lorenz was basically trying to push us into giving her these TikTok house addresses. And when we were just like, "What do you need them for?" She was like, "Ugh, if you don't give them to us, like, you're not even going to be published in this positive story." So then Taylor Lorenz says, "We also might want to photograph the kids next door. So we would need to provide the address in the photo request because it affects which photographer we book. Thanks. You can send a text." And then my team says, "Okay, got it. When do the pieces go live? K&D House doesn't launch until Saturday." Taylor says, "A week and a half from now." Okay, thanks. Taylor, "Can you guys send the addresses? And this is the only thing holding up right now. And I don't want them to just cut you guys out. Thanks." So she took the addresses that she said she wasn't going to post and decided to, in the hit piece, post them in the article. So basically, she doxed me. So then Elon says, "Oh no, this is okay." So that's not the one that I posted. Okay, I'm gonna show you guys this one. So, okay, so I had put that one before, but then this is when I saw that Elon was pissed because they were doxing his plane. So I said, "I'm not famous and I wasn't a public figure either when Taylor Lorenz asked for my address and said it wasn't for publication and then proceeded to dox me in the New York Times with the address she had assured me she wasn't going to publish. The article was shared many times on Twitter." Elon Musk. Okay, so I quote tweeted Mark Andreessen, and he had said, "Doxing, stalking, trying to hurt people's loved ones, threatening them is not okay in any situation. People on here who want to constantly stoke these publicized outrage campaigns want to dismiss it, but it shouldn't be dismissed. Has very real consequences." That was a quote by Taylor Lorenz. Okay. So I took that quote and I quote tweeted it and I said that. And I put the part of my lawsuit right here where she put in the article, "At the end of July, the influencers were told that they would have to cover a larger share of the rent." False, by the way. "They all felt the crunch, and the dream of living and working in a mansion with friends turned into a living nightmare." Mr. Underhill said by early August, half of the residents had moved out. The house itself has been relisted for sale on Zillow. And she put the address. Well, I'm still living there. And so, love this. This moment I went crazy because Elon Musk said, "Such shameful behavior will not be tolerated going forward." So that was when the next day Taylor Lorenz got kicked off of Twitter and everybody was texting me and calling me. It was right before Christmas and everybody was saying, "You got an early Christmas present." And Taylor Lorenz uh was like suspended from Twitter. Now, that only lasted about a day because I think Eric Weinstein or one of the Weinstein brothers was told Elon, like, hey, just because you don't like what people say, you shouldn't uh, kick them off of, you know, of Twitter. So let me just show you guys how uh, Ren's suspended from how unhinged Lorenz got when she got suspended from Twitter. She went on Lorenz went on a TikTok and essentially acted like a crazy ex-girlfriend that was all excited. Elon Musk had like noticed her. So let me show you guys this video. Oops. Um, sorry, hang on. Hang on. Right, I'll just do this one. Okay.
Guys, I guess this is what I get for exposing the truth about birds. But yes, the truth is that Elon Musk banned me. I can't believe I got banned from Twitter. The other night when all my friends were getting banned, I was like, oh my God, I think I'm gonna get banned. And I like had it in my head, like, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get banned because Elon hates me. He hates me. And so anyway, I had no tweets on my account, no tweets. I had 3 tweets on my account. Only 3 tweets were live on my account. 2 of them were promoting my other social media channels. And then one of them, just today, I tweeted at Elon asking him for comment for this story that I've been working on. And then that's when he banned me. Which is so crazy. It's so crazy. It's so crazy because everyone else got banned on Thursday, and now here I am, the random Saturday night ban when I'm out with my friends, my other band friends like Ryan Mack. Anyway, it's so funny that I've been banned. I can't stop laughing at it. It's so crazy. Imagine being a fucking billionaire. Imagine being a literal billionaire. And then you spend all your time on Twitter to the point that you bought it, and then you're banning random girls that you don't like reporters. That's so funny. It's so crazy. Also, it's just like insane to see a platform like that just totally go nuts. Yeah, Brayden, Elon does not support Yas or Slay.
Okay. But enough of that. It's so cringe. I can't even watch it. But anyway, that's what she was doing when she was when she was suspended. So yeah. So that was really cool. That got me a bunch of press in the media because then people were like, oh, she doxed this other person. And that worked. So that was the way that we rode the wave in on Twitter. And then any other time, like she was trending, if you want to do this, you have to include the person's name on Twitter. If you can't use hashtags, I wouldn't use an @ I guess that one time it was good that I used Elon's @ but at the time, like sometimes if you tag somebody, it like will get less engagement or whatever. But that time it worked, and he saw my tweet. So the funniest part is that Taylor is the ultimate cry bully. Tears, she tears people down via hit pieces, and then she always plays the victim when someone pushes back with facts or any type of criticism whatsoever. It's insane that I don't know, I guess people even at that time were still cared about what she had to say. So Man, I feel like this is going longer. I was only going to go on for an hour. Let me see what else I wanted to talk about. Okay. Well, I'm going to stay on a little longer, tell you guys a little bit more of the story. So, another big moment during this saga was that I went on Tucker Carlson in front of millions of people and I finally got to tell my side of the story. So, I want to tell you guys how I prepared for that moment because it most of the time, if you've been defamed and you only have 3 minutes or you only have a short time to talk about what happened, it can be really nerve-wracking. And I'm really proud of like the how it went on Tucker Carlson. You guys can watch. I have it on my channel. You can just search Ariadna Jacob, Taylor Lorenz, and you can probably find it online. So big props uh, to Matt Shoop for landing and booking and helping me prep for that interview. What I did myself was that I studied the show's tempo. I wrote lines with their rhythm in mind. What does that mean is I would time how long somebody spoke on Tucker Carlson's show. If I liked what they said, and how long they talked and how they said whatever, I would write it down and I studied it for weeks. And I treated it like this was going to be my Super Bowl ad. It had to be bold, snappy, low fluff. And a lot of people, they, oops, when I had talked to when I talked to Matt, my friend who got me on there, I was like, "Oh, I want to tell them like what she said and like all this stuff." And he was like, "You can't. Don't focus on what she said. Focus on it. Like first of all, explain it like you're explaining it to a 12-year-old. You have to be simple, clear, memorable. Know your audience. You're talking to Fox News people. They probably don't know what a TikTok manager is, and you don't want to go on there and say she said I leaked people's nudes because that just ties you to something negative, right? So." He was like, just focus on what she did. She defamed me. She said false and damaging things about me. It destroyed my business. Boom, done. You have, a minute and a half to talk, basically. So I rehearsed until my core points felt like second nature. I told them to anybody that would listen. I would get feedback from people, from my aunts, my uncles, literally up until I was there getting my makeup done. I was rehearsing the lines and I recorded what I wanted to say and then like on a voice note, and then I would listen to it as I was going to sleep. I had to be clear and concise because I only had this one moment. And if I sounded like an idiot in front of millions of people, then that was done. I have lost all my credibility and nobody's going to believe me. Nobody's going to have my back. So, every phase, like of what I wanted to say was rehearsed. And it was like, basically just I didn't want to get distracted because I knew I was going to be nervous. So, I didn't even have AI back then, so I probably would have used it to sharpen every soundbite. You can use AI to like help you speak in sound bites, and I've done that now. But anyway, the point is I rehearsed what I was going to say, and thank goodness I did because when I finally went on there, I pretty much blacked out halfway through, and somehow I brought it back. Like I think he asked me something that I wasn't expecting him to ask, and so I was like, but maybe I had it so well rehearsed that I brought it back. So go watch that interview. And you can see kind of like my punchy what happened or whatever. So what did this whole experience getting defamed by Taylor Lorenz in the New York Times teach me about cancel culture? Well, I think culture has shifted. So my old advice, or not my old advice, like the old advice when you get smeared in the media was stay quiet or you'll cause the Streisand effect. And now that silence becomes a weapon from anybody talking badly about you. People are going to find the story. So if you can, scoop the narrative. And what I mean by that is come out with it, Dave Portnoy style, and say emergency press conference. The New York Times is about to write a libelous, false story about me, and I'm going to tell you the truth before they can spread lies. That's what I would do, talk to an attorney. Oh, Leo, she says, "I'm late, but red jacket is fire." Thank you. This is what I wore on Tucker Carlson and kinda like my cape. It's actually a cape. It's not a jacket, it's a cape. See? Just kidding. It's kinda like a blazer, but it's also a cape. Anyway, it's from shoot, I can't remember. Anyway, right now we are living in the Sherlock era of the internet where there's LawTube, live streams, Reddit, the Johnny Depp trial happened, Karen Reed. There is truth hunting by the public. So spin doesn't stick if people can dig up proof of what really happened. And I think people now are less afraid to ask questions. When Justin Baldoni was getting smeared by the New York Times and Blake Lively, I spoke up, and I'm pretty sure I had the first tweet that went viral talking about that. And that wasn't paid for by Baldoni's team. No, I spoke up because this is what had happened to me. And I'm not going to let things like that slide anymore. You know, a lot of people are like, why do you still talk about this? Because it still affects me. And I know it's affecting other people. I mean, just a couple weeks ago, someone said they didn't want to work with me because somebody on their team said, well, this person got run out of Hollywood, so we don't want to work with them. Well, that's their prerogative. But at the end of the day, what happened is not that I got run out of Hollywood. It's that a journalist at a very prestigious news organization was acting, in my opinion, on behalf of her talent agents who wanted me out of their way so they could represent people that were going to make tens of millions of dollars. And she very swiftly destroyed my career. So I didn't get run out of Hollywood. I left because I didn't want that toxic energy anywhere near me anymore. So I'm just here to say that your personal brand is your armor. You should build it before you get attacked. Don't wait until someone else defines who you are. That Coldplay guy, I mean, a lot of people don't have empathy for him, right? But anybody else getting defamed. I mean, Candace Owens going after Brigitte Macron, whoever it is that's getting canceled. If they have a good personal brand before they're attacked, at least there's some stuff online about you before somebody writes something negative. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't do the internet thing. I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on whatever. I'm only on LinkedIn. Well, make videos for LinkedIn then, because you might as well have something on there that tells your story before somebody else does. Because one article by the New York Times, that's going to get ranked right at the top of Google because they have what's called search engine optimization authority. The Google looks at the New York Times like they are one of the most authoritative websites on the internet. So if somebody writes your name in the New York Times, you better hope it's a good article because it's going to come up on the top of Google, unless you can't get it deleted, guys. You can get it pushed down off that front page. I think there's 10 spots on the front page of Google. The only thing you can do if you get defamed is push that stuff down. And so you better have other stuff online. So, when somebody writes one article about you, that is not the truth. You always, when you're reading an article about someone that's, trashing them, always ask, well, could there be another side to the story? I mean, always ask yourself, it's kind of funny that the media ran with this astronomer thing. And look, I'm not taking this guy's side in any way, shape, or form. But nobody asked, hey, is he actually divorced? Or his wife and him separated? It doesn't have to be legal. Nobody asked those questions. They just went for the jugular. And look, they looked like they were doing something wrong. So that's probably why. But my point is that once the news gets, well, it looks bad, so we're just going to run with it. They do that for everything. So you have to take control, and you can't let a single takedown define your legacy. Before I came on here tonight, I watched the Mel Robbins podcast with Carl Lentz. I don't know if you guys remember him, but he was that pastor that was at the Hillsong Church with Justin Bieber and the whole thing. He was cheating on his wife, destroyed his whole career life for a period of time. But that podcast was really inspiring. Like, what happened to me was unfair and they did blatant lies. But if you find yourself in a situation where you did something, like, you can get through it too. And there's grace for everybody. I don't know if you guys believe in God or a higher power or whatever, but I do. And I think things happen for a reason. In my situation, now I know this prayer. It's like, God, if it's not meant for me, then take it away. And when this New York Times thing happened to me, I was meeting with Sino McFarlane, a basically celebrity therapist in Hollywood. He works with a ton of celebrities and entrepreneurs and whatnot. But I met with him and he said he had met some of the influencers and I had met with him after he met the influencers and he said, you need to shut this down. He said, I don't know. I have this feeling that these people don't respect you and this is not a good place for you to be in. And I didn't listen because I was like, no, like, I've invested too much. And not 2 weeks later, and the article came out. So I didn't say that prayer, God, if it's not for me, take it away. But I think he was taking it away because it wasn't for me. Those people didn't appreciate me. They didn't respect me. So let's talk about the motion to dismiss. I survived the motion to dismiss in my lawsuit with the New York Times and Taylor Lorenz. And then I walked away from the lawsuit. Why? Well, surviving the dismissal was absolutely huge. It hardly ever happens. And it took about 4 years from the time where she destroyed my career. And I couldn't speak out loud really about it. I did talk about Taylor Lorenz, but probably that was not ill advised because I was probably advised not to do it. But I just that was the way that I got my attorneys, was to talk about what happened with Taylor Lorenz. But honestly, it didn't help my case because then it kind of looked like I was just psycho obsessed with Taylor Lorenz and anything she was doing. So continuing with that lawsuit, once it got past motion to dismiss, meant that now we would get discovery. We would be able to depose Taylor Lorenz, but it was going to cost a lot of money. Okay. It was going to cost money to pay for the depositions. It was going to cost money to pay for the expert witnesses that would be able to do like forensic accounting and say exactly how much money she had cost me. And we're talking about a TikTok talent agent that this like career path had just been barely invented, I guess, at the time. So how would anybody know? It's not like with Johnny Depp and they can say, well, this is how much the Pirates of the Caribbean movies made. We didn't know how much a TikTok talent agent could make. Now, now we know it's tens of millions of dollars, but how are we going to prove that to a jury? Not only that, the New York Times was going to try to trash me and say, well, Ari went on Tucker Carlson. She ruined her own reputation. There's no money to give, even if we did defame her. I remember I took a picture with Jacob, the shaman that went to jail for the J6 stuff. And he's such a nice guy. And I remember thinking like, oh God, if the New York Times gets a hold of this, they're going to say, oh, you see this picture? She ruined her own reputation. There goes millions of dollars. So it was just like walking on eggshells no matter what I did. And I was just ready to be done with it. And I honestly realized that walking away would allow me to build bigger things. And it wasn't defeat. It was just a strategic pivot because I didn't want to give 2 more years of my life to Taylor Lorenz or the New York Times. So I really chose to scale over more of a spectacle. And one of my business partners told me, do you remember the story of Dr. Dre? And when he had to walk away from all his music, Suge Knight kept everything. All those people were toxic. And he basically said, you know what? Keep it all. I'm going to start a new thing. And he started his own music label and he built Beats by Dre and he became a billionaire. So sometimes you have to walk away and just get away from toxic crap. You get what I mean? So how did I rebuild? What am I doing now? What is my business? So I founded creatorgenius.com. We use a ton of AI tools, everything that I've ever learned in social media, um, to build a strategy and short form videos for small and medium sized businesses. So I'm working with people that actually value and they actually say thank you. Plastic surgeons. I have a tennis shop. I have restaurants and hospitality venues and things like that. I built it from scratch. And this time I had a lot of experience. I had, thankfully AI came into the picture. I tried to find a group of people that I was excited to work with and a new niche. And so I'm really happy that I did that. And like to be honest with you, the influencer space is like it's just a bit draining. Talent is always going to complain about their managers, about having to give money. I just watched the other day a video of Jake Paul saying that people stole from him, that managers and lawyers stole from him. He used the word stole, but we don't know if they stole from him. That's his opinion. But it's not that they stole from him. It's that he didn't feel like the value of their work. But that's sometimes, a narcissistic thing to say. Like when someone works for you and you offer them 10%, because they take the 10%, that's not stealing from you. No, he might have gotten stolen from. I'm not saying he did, but you know what I'm saying? This is kind of this thankless job. Show me the money, right? So what would be the advice that I would give someone getting unfairly smeared right now? Well, number one, do not sink into silence. Speak up, get all your receipts together. Like, try to not have emotion when you're doing your video or whatever it is that you're doing. Like, try to take a beat, because if you speak with emotion, you are going to come off unhinged. And there's definitely probably times where I came out like I sounded unhinged, but I really tried to bite my tongue until I went on Tucker. And I'm so glad that I was measured about when I finally spoke up. And go and share your story publicly in rooms or threads. Find your allies. They will show up. And build your narrative first. Own your brand voice. Start to curate your public persona, because everybody here is going to get canceled, I promise you, at some point in time. Maybe it's just like a friend, maybe it's on the T app or in a Facebook group where it's like, are we dating the same guy? And one of your ex-girlfriends goes on there and writes some lies about you. So the other thing I would do, if you're getting smeared, is find people who've been through the same thing, and they will lift you up. You guys will lift each other up. Another thing that you should do is think like a journalist or a lawyer, mainly like a lawyer. So frame like your side of the story with facts. I guess that's what journalists are supposed to do, isn't it? Anyway, what ended up happening to Taylor Lorenz after the lawsuit, after she left the New York Times, after she was suspended? Well, she was suspended from Twitter, and major outlets covered it and basically saying that that she got booted because of me, because I told Elon that she doxed me, which I don't think is really tattletaling, because that's like pretty bad to dox somebody. She lost credibility among her own peers because she promoted herself as like an influencer journalist. And I believe that I got Taylor Lorenz fired from the New York Times, because right after the lawsuit, Taylor Lorenz had gone from a Twitter account that was consistently tweeting unhinged things, talking about people, to all of a sudden she was dead silent. And she posted on her her Instagram and Twitter bios that she's taking a leave. She's taking book leave, which means that she wouldn't be talking or answering any questions because she's working on her book. Isn't that convenient? 3 days after I sued Taylor Lorenz, conveniently, She left and said she was on book leave, so she couldn't answer any questions. But interestingly enough, Taylor Lorenz never really tweeted again until she announced that she was leaving to go to Washington Post. So what do I surmise? I believe that Taylor was shut up by the New York Times. They said, "Shut your mouth, Taylor. You just got us sued. And actually, this is a credible lawsuit." So, Taylor either got pushed out or she couldn't handle not being able to tweet incessantly lies about other people. So she's like, "I can't handle this. I got to go to WAPO, well, where they will let me tweet about whatever I want." So she leaves, goes to WAPO, does a bunch of other unhinged things while she's at the Washington Post. But ultimately, she resigns or gets fired. I think she got fired because she tweeted something about, she posted on Instagram to her close friends something about Joe Biden being a war criminal. And then she lied about it and la, la, la. So, what does that tell us? Even her close friends ratted her out, which means she doesn't really have that many friends. So, I pray for Taylor Lorenz. I've forgiven her. I definitely think she should, there's accountability there, and I will speak up for anybody that's a cry bully like Taylor Lorenz. But she's still around, and the cry bully label stuck. People stopped buying her narratives. And so, okay, after everything, what is my message to anyone who feels like their name is ruined and they'll never recover? That's not true. Okay. You can rebuild your truth plus strategy plus relationships. That will bring you momentum. Take control, speak out, find your people, like the people in my chat tonight. Thank you for coming. Your reputation isn't a fixed definition, it's a story you get to tell. So let me know if you'd like me to answer any other questions that you guys have. Hopefully, this answers like why I shut down the lawsuit. We won in my mind. I think I tweeted it a long time ago, just like it was a win for me. I moved to Vegas. I met incredible people. I'm in an incredible place right now. And if you still hate me, here's the other thing, guys. If people want to hate you, they're going to hate you. Okay. If people want to find something to talk bad about you about, I mean, if you don't like me, you're going to go find the Taylor stuff and you're going to spread it because you don't like me, you know? But oh my gosh, I don't know what that was. It scared me. Anyway, the point is, it's over and I'm happy that it's over. And now I want to focus on like helping other people understand how these defamation lawsuits work, how to fight back against cancel culture, how to push through if you're in a dark place and you feel ashamed. One of the things that I liked about the Carl Lentz and Mel Robbins podcast that I just listened to was that, Lentz, he did something wrong, right? Like he cheated on his wife. And he said that like so many people want you to be ashamed when you do something bad. And, again, like my story in my mind, like, everything was false and I didn't deserve what happened to me. But, maybe you feel shame because you did something and it's coming to light. I liked what he said about shame, which is that shame makes it all about you. It's like, I'm ashamed. What are people going to think of me? Nope, and it's all about you. Where like, if you can let go of that shame and rebuild and learn from it and be a better person from it, it's about other people and how you're going to treat other people, how you're going to treat your wife and your family and your kids. But if you keep that shame of like, oh, I'm a terrible person, I'm horrible, what is that? It's about you. It's all about you. So that's like a narcissistic thing to keep shame in your life. So Anyway, whether you've been canceled or not been canceled, or you see somebody else been canceled, hopefully this podcast, this whatever show will shed some light into what it's like to survive it. And thank you guys for joining. I will see you guys next time. Do you have any questions for me, chat? Thank you guys for joining me. I feel like this was one of the least, what is it called? Like technical difficulty chats or streams I've ever had. So we're getting better little by little. All right, guys. I am going to get some food. I hope you guys have a great Sunday. And I will hopefully be back. If you're watching the episodes from DUI Guy, or if you're here from the DUI Guy's channel, thank you guys for tuning into those. It's been really fun doing that. And that case, I think that Fraser Baum, he has like a court thing on like the first week of August. So, all right, catch you guys next time.
Watch your step, she's here to play. And though she be but little, she is fierce. Takes the drama, cuts it clear. This is the Little Miss Jacob show. Bullies beware, she'll take you down in a thread, you know. Play it cool, keep it calm, let the rhythm flow. Climbing high while they're stuck down below. No shortcuts, no cheats, she's here to win. Every comeback's fire, let the games begin. Watch the moves unfold. Every word's a strike, every line is gold. Take your shot, but she's 10 steps ahead. Every headline reads the thread she just said. It's the rhythm of the bold, the beat of the free, the sound of ambition, the way it should be. Step by step, let the groove take control. Turn the highs and lows into pure gold. This is the show. This is the vibe. The Little Miss Jacob groove is alive. And though she be but little, she is fierce. Cuts through the noise with words that pierce. It's not just wit, it's how you move. Every challenge fuels the groove. It's the rhythm of the bold, the beat of the free, the sound of ambition, the way it should be. Step by step, let the groove take control. Turn the highs and lows into pure gold. This is the show. This is the vibe. The Little Miss Jacob groove is alive. Ooh. Bullies beware, she's calling it out. No room for doubt, she'll flip the whole route. This is the Little Miss Jacob show, where the real ones rise and the rest lay low.